another chance. You know, once one give you an opportunity and you show them how you appreciate the opportunity by fouling them, you don't, should you get one? No, you know, the whole thing that, you know, a person needs to come to a person and say, look, hey, you know, under frustration, someone told me to do this and I was wrong for doing it. But, you know, if you're going to have to come to me right for another fight. And the whole thing is the whole thing to do the people really want to see another one.
Who are you fighting next?
I don't know. I'm somebody with the belt.
Somebody with a belt?
Yeah, somebody with a belt.
Is there anybody out there that even interests you a little, that turns you on as a challenge?
Well, you know, you got two people with belts. You know, the thing is, if I stay in the game, I'm unified. So Michael Moore got one and Lennox Lewis, but Lennox Lewis fighting Akawana pretty soon. So, you know, the chance of, you know, 2 fights, 3 fights, 4 fights. You know, you may get a chance to see a lot of me.
Moore would be a good matchup for you because he's beaten you, right?
Well, you know, the whole thing is that, well, he got the decision, and it'll be a good fight.
Evander, thank you so much. We appreciate you doing it. We hope that your ear feels better.
Better already.
All right. Evander Holyfield, the champ. Now back to the studio.
The Tyson that came out of prison was not the same fighter, and as time went on, and then certainly with the Evander Holyfield fight in November, Tyson appeared to unravel mentally, Charlie.
Buster, you have a unique perspective, having fought him back in 1990. Give us a sense from what you see of the Tyson then and the Tyson now.
Well, the Tyson then was a very disciplined fighter, much as he is now. But somewhere along the line, I think the pressures have gotten to Mike to where, you know, it's overwhelming to him. You know, it's like in the sense of if a guy, for example, does hit you with a headbutt, then you would immediately turn it around, but you would use it to your benefit. You know, it would be a more positive reaction instead of something bizarre as, you know, resorting to the same dirty tactic as you felt that you had been placed upon you. But, you know, it's just sad that this had occurred, you know, and I just hope for the best for Mike, really.
Fight of the year turned out to be one of the more bizarre stories in all of sports this year.
Thanks a lot, guys. On the undercard of the rematch, Julio Cesar Chavez in the black, gold, and white trunks going for his 100th win, and he knocks down Larry Corsier with the right hand in the 4th round. Then in the 10th round, Chavez lands another right that staggers La Corsier, and Chavez wins the bout in a unanimous decision. So he won the favor of all judges in the 10-round competition, which was a non-title bout, and he does win his 100th victory. And in England, Britain's Herbie Hyde knocked down Tony Tucker 3 times in the 2nd round to claim the vacant WBO heavyweight title. Stick around, the ESPN News match, the 26th heavyweight championship rematch, and Tyson is attempting to join Muhammad Ali and, ironically, Evander Holyfield as the only 3-time heavyweight champions, while Holyfield hoping to defend his WBA title in Las Vegas. And Tyson, the challenger, ready to go against that man, Evander Holyfield, making his way to the ring. 2nd round, Tyson and Holyfield will get tangled up here, and then they go to the ropes, and Tyson says he gets headbutted right there, complaining to the referee. 3rd round, Tyson with a solid right. That forces Holyfield into the ropes. Tyson misses a left, but then still finishes up with a right. Later in the 3rd round, Tyson and Holyfield locked up, and then watch this. Tyson here actually bites Holyfield's right ear. That's a 2-point deduction, and Tyson would later be disqualified, and then there was a slight melee in the ring as Tyson, very angry, police trying to restore order in the ring, while Holyfield, meanwhile, being kept away from any danger. And then after things sort of calmed down, Tyson would leave with his entourage, while Holyfield taken by an ambulance to the hospital where he would have plastic surgery to reattach part of his ear that was bitten off by Mike Tyson. So the sound and fury comes to a bizarre end as Mike Tyson disqualified in the 3rd round. So Evander Holyfield retains his title, and the chairman of the Nevada Athletic Commission says Tyson's $30 million purse now will be withheld. Tyson also temporarily suspended, and there will be a hearing this week. Immediately after the fight, we hear from the champion.
Fear itself calls people to do the easiest thing, the quicker thing to get out. I'm saying the whole thing is that we're in a fight already, so why do you have to bite somebody? If you feel that you can whoop me, Why you can't whip me with the gloves on?
He butted me in the first round, but then he butted me again the second round. Then as soon as he butted me, I watched him. He had me holding, and he looked right at me, and I saw him, and he was going for, and he kept going for mine. And he butted me again. He kept going down and coming up, and he charged into me. And no one warned him. No one took any points for him. What am I to do? This is my career. I can't continue getting butted like that. I got children to raise. This guy keeps butting me, trying to cut me and get me stopped on cut. I got to retaliate.
The condition of the ear, could he have continued, and did you disqualify him because of the foul or because he couldn't continue?
Oh, no, I disqualified Tyson for the second foul. I told him, do not do that again. You do, you're gone.
It's just an easy way to get out of the fight, the foul, because you know you're going to get disqualified instead of fighting through. I'm saying that don't show no courage whatsoever. Everybody know how to get out of the fight. All you got to do is foul. You'll get yourself out, then he didn't beat me.
Well, this fight is just one in a number of recent bouts that have had bizarre endings. Remember, Roy Jones lost his title after being disqualified for hitting his opponent when he was down, and then Oliver McCall began walking around the ring and crying before his fight with Lennox Lewis was stopped. Of course, the infamous low blow fights between Riddick Bowe and Andrew Galata. Later on Saturday night at the hospital, Mark Schwartz caught up with Evander Holyfield.
Okay, with Evander Holyfield. Evander, first of all, how are you feeling, and how is your ear? How are both of your ears?
Well, I feel good, and, you know, I thank the Lord that it's not as bad as it appeared to be at the time that he bit both of my ears.
Did you feel like your ear was bitten off completely when this first bite occurred?
Well, the first bite I did, it hurt so bad that when I went to the corner, I was frustrated, and my corner people said, just relax, man, just relax, pray. And, and I was able to relax, and that's the only reason I went back out there. And I'm glad they probably would have disqualified me if I wouldn't have fought. But more, they would say, the guy took the easy route out. But, after I was able to get focused, I went back out there. But I went back out there to, really try to get the fight over. And I caught him with a good shot. Then he bit my other ear.
Did you dream that he would bite you a second time, or did you think that was just a momentary lapse by Tyson?
I thought it was a momentary lapse. You start thinking that things like that can happen. But, for twice, when it happened that last time, my whole thing, I completely lost it. My whole thing is that it wasn't even to a point of swinging the gloves anymore. I'm ready to tackle him and throw him down and all that. I'm just glad that, Mill Lane did the proper thing.
Would you even dream of giving Mike Tyson a rematch? And if so, under what circumstances?
Well, I'm sure that if things came out to a point of apology and him proving himself that he worthy another chance. Once one give you an opportunity and you show them how you appreciate the opportunity by fouling them, should you get one? No, the whole thing that a person needs to come to a person and say, look, hey, under frustration, someone told me to do this and I was wrong for doing it. But if you're gonna have to come to me right for another fight, and the whole thing to do the people really want to see another one.
Who are you fighting next?
I don't know. I'm somebody with the belt.
Somebody with a belt?
Yeah, somebody with a belt.
Is there anybody out there that even interests you a little, that turns you on as a challenge?
Well, you got two people with belts. The thing is, if I stay in the game, I'm unified. So Michael Moore got one and Lennox Lewis, but Lennox Lewis fighting Akawana pretty soon. So, a chance of 2 fights, 3 fights, 4 fights. You may get a chance to see a lot of me.
Moore would be a good matchup for you because he's beaten you, right?
Well, the whole thing is that, well, he got the decision, and it'll be a good fight.
Evander, thank you so much. We appreciate you doing it. We hope that your ear feels better.
Better already.
All right. Evander Holyfield, the champ. Now back to the studio.
Honorable Dick Schaap right now. Dick, good morning. Mike Tyson disqualified last night for biting Evander Holyfield in the ear not once but twice. One of the most bizarre conclusions to any sporting event you've seen.
So absolutely. If you had scripted it, though, you could not have found a more fitting way to sound the death knell of boxing. An overtly vicious and painful act that stripped away all pretense of manly art or sweet science. There was nothing manly about Mike Tyson's actions and nothing sweet. And Reese, they were certainly neither art nor science.
And Dick, I'm sure you don't really think that boxing will actually be abolished, but this is yet another black eye.
Well, of course it won't be abolished. Millions of people are still eager to pay to see fights in Reese. Many of them would probably even pay to see Tyson fight or bite Holyfield again.
All right, Dick, thanks a lot. We look forward to hearing more on this a little bit later on this Sunday morning. Well, you could say that was another black eye for boxing, but actually it's probably the first bitten ear. If you ordered pay-per-view, you probably didn't know if you were getting the fight or interview with a vampire. Tyson's $30 million purse is being withheld pending a hearing before the Nevada Athletic Commission. And joining us now from Las Vegas is Charlie Steiner. Charlie, good morning.
Morning, Reese.
Right.
It was a night of violence here in Las Vegas, not only in the ring, but outside the ring. After the fight last night, as fans were exiting the arena and heading through the casino, fans thought they heard gunshots, and a melee ensued, almost a riot, as they tried to get out of the building.
I heard the gunshots, and people started screaming, and they started just running like a wave of people. Everybody started hitting the floor, started hiding under the tables, and chairs were all over the floor. I mean, everybody ran for cover.
When you say you heard gunshots, are you sure they were gunshots?
There were gunshots, yes. They were definitely gunshots.
But the MGM Hotel denied gunshots were fired. However, we can tell you a telephone operator that I called at nearly 1 o'clock in the morning Pacific time advised me, as she advised all other guests, to remain in their rooms for the time being. And we did. Now to the violence in the ring. The first 2 rounds of last night's fight were won by Evander Holyfield. In the 3rd round, Mike Tyson, incensed after being butted by Holyfield in the 2nd round, unintentional butt according to Mills Lane, took it into his own hands, or at least his own teeth. He took a bite out of Evander Holyfield's right ear, taking a chunk out of the ear. A riot ensued in the ring after Tyson was disqualified. Evander Holyfield was then taken to the hospital. Mike Tyson would leave the building in disgrace. Officially, Evander Holyfield wins the fight in a 3rd round disqualification. At the end of the 3rd round,
emotion not to do that, because you actually saying that I don't want to fight no more, and I'm going to do this, and this going to get me out of the fight, and it did get him out of the fight.
You knew going into this fight very early that this was going to be a short fight. You knew that you would get him out of there within 4 or 5 rounds tonight?
I knew it would be a short fight. I knew it was a short fight, and it was told to me by the prophets. It said it'd be a short night, and said you have some distraction, and and my whole thing is, what could happen? They told me it was going to be some distraction. I didn't know that I was going to get bit on the ear to be distracted.
all right, we're joined by John Saraceno and James Buster Douglas. Now that we've had at least a couple of hours to have a little bit of hindsight, what do you suppose Mike Tyson was thinking in the 3rd round?
Charlie, that's a very good question. I'm not sure we're ever going to have a definite answer. Mike Tyson did a lot of whining and complaining and alibying after the fight. I think basically what happened is Mike Tyson is a kid from the streets. He reverted back to that street mentality. It was a very thug-type move for Mike Tyson to make.
And Buster, what is your theory about what we saw here last night?
Well, I just think that going into that 3rd round, things got really confusing for Mike Tyson, and I just think he wanted out. It was a situation that was unfortunate, but it's pretty bizarre.
In 1980, in the Leonard Duran 2 in New Orleans, Duran pulled the no mas, quit in the ring, realizing there was no way he was going to beat Sugar Ray Leonard that night. And he apparently did not want to allow Leonard the luxury of winning and the good feeling about winning. Can't help but wonder if this was the 1997 answer of no mas. Perhaps Mike Tyson knew in his heart he wasn't going to beat this guy, and so maybe this is the way he could get out of it, and that's certainly what Evander Holyfield thinks.
He certainly stole what glorious moment that Evander Holyfield had predicted for himself by trying to win this rematch. And by doing that, Mike Tyson really lowered himself to the level that a lot of people think that he comes from. And it was a sad moment in boxing history.
And we will be back with much more coverage on the morning after this most bizarre night here in Las Vegas. For now, let's go back to the studio.
Hello and welcome to CNN Sports Illustrated, and a special welcome to those of you joining us on CNN for the next half hour. I'm Inga Hammond, and I'm not sure if he's always fat-free.
No, not at all. And I'm Steve Bartleson. Coming up later in the show, the Stars are out tonight in the American League. They named their all-star team, and when we turn to page one, the big boys of boxing have some big problems. Nick Charles will look at those from Las Vegas, and really everywhere you turn, from TV to talk shows to newspapers, that has really been the talk of the town.
And not so much a sports story anymore, but it has become a news story. People talking about it all over the country. Matter of fact, even all over the world. And we do start in Las Vegas tonight with Mike Tyson's apology and, to some extent, explanation. For 4 minutes and 16 seconds, Mike Tyson tried to explain why he bit Evander Holyfield, not once, but twice during Saturday night's WBA heavyweight title bout. On this, his 31st birthday, Tyson, once one of boxing's most intimidating men, apologized and asked for forgiveness. Senior correspondent Nick Charles has more from Las Vegas. And we'll have that for you in just a minute. But we want to tell you that Evander Holyfield did say tonight that Mike Tyson called his home to apologize. Although Holyfield was not there at the time, he did appreciate the personal gesture. Also late Monday, a nationwide $200 million class action lawsuit has been filed in Harris County, Texas, on behalf of boxing fans against Mike Tyson, Don King, and cable companies, which didn't carry the fight. The suit alleges that Tyson and King breached a contract and defrauded viewers by failing to produce a boxing match in compliance with the rules. Coming up later in the hour for our CNNSI viewers, we'll have Mike Tyson's statement in its entirety. And then on Tuesday, be sure to stay tuned to CNNSI at 1 p.m. Eastern for live coverage of the Nevada State Athletic Commission's decision on Mike Tyson's purse and possible sanctions against him. For now, though, we will go to Nick Charles in Las Vegas.
We can only speculate that Mike Tyson spent 2 torturous days and nights contemplating his actions in the ring last Saturday night and his future in boxing. Monday, Tyson resurfaced, though, and called a news conference in which he apologized for biting Evander Holyfield, but tried to justify it.
I cannot tell why exactly I acted like I did, other than to say when the incident occurred, and I thought I might lose because of a severely of a cut above my eye. I just snapped. For an athlete in the heat of battle to suddenly lose it, it's not new, but it's not right. And for me, it doesn't change anything. I was wrong.
Tyson was a picture of repentance, apologizing for his conduct in and out of the ring and the verbally abusive behavior of those around him. He said he was sorry to, among others, the public, which witnessed his rage here at the MGM Grand, and the record pay-per-view crowd that paid millions. Most notable, though, was that Tyson followed up Monday with the only thing Evander Holyfield had asked of him.
I have also told everyone associated with me that I will not stand for any more of the nasty, insulting comments made to Mr. Evander Holyfield and his boxing team. Evander, I'm sorry. You're a champion. I respect that. And I only saddened that the fight didn't go on further, that the boxing fans of the world might have seen for themselves who would come out on top.
I accept this apology, but you know, when you look at as a person sincere, only time tells that as well. But I don't think, regardless to whether a person apologizes or not, the commission still have to do their job.
Tyson was a man alone out there for the first time, his entourage backstage. And while it was the fighter who was ultimately responsible for what he did, those around him were still throwing kerosene on the fire, tossing the blame back at the champion.
Holyfield kind of took the fight to the street. So when you street fight, you know, everything goes. And that's what he did. Mike was trying to fight and keep everything clean. But this guy practiced that. You know, those are not accidental butts. That's practice. They practice those butts.
If you slow the tape down, you can see that Tyson's head was up, and he was talking to the complaining, saying that I was headbutting and I hadn't headbutted him, and he got hit with a left hook, which caused the cut.
Tyson has one more fight on his contract with the GM, which was tight-lipped on its future association with the fighter. Before Tyson left the spotlight Monday, though, he essentially threw himself on the mercy of boxing, begged for another chance, and vowed he's ready to accept any punishment the Nevada State Athletic Commission may pursue here Tuesday. Tyson then disclosed that he is desperate to change his ways and learn from his, quote, horrible mistake.
I had also reached out since Saturday to the medical profession for help to tell me why I did what I did, and I will have that help as well. And now I will continue to train not just my body, but my mind too, so that if possible, I can put this behind me, and so that that it will never happen again.
Tyson's damage control included an apology to Patricia Gifford, the presiding judge in his rape trial in Indiana. CNNSI, meanwhile, was told by Tyson's chief probation officer there that the court, quote, is not happy with the way he handled his anger and frustration, and that if criminal charges are filed, Mike Tyson could have his probation revoked. Nick Charles, CNNSI.
And once again, please join us on CNNSI at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on Tuesday for live coverage of the Nevada Athletic Commission's press conference, and they'll say what they're going to do as far as sanctions and penalties against Mike Tyson. Steve?
All right, on to base. Stop this, but the insanity does seem to be quarantined to the heavyweight ranks. Nick Charles has more in tonight's Page One.
Instead of fueling passions about boxing's marquee division, Mike Tyson's bloodthirsty self-destruction Saturday night here left more questions than answers. Evander Holyfield kept his title and a grip on the division, but is one God-fearing protagonist enough to breathe life into heavyweight boxing, or is the sport's crown jewel rapidly being reduced to dust? Here's our Page One report.
I think it's very sad, and a lot of people were hurt. There were many, many people who put a lot of effort into this, and they were all injured to some extent. A lot of people saved up their money and bought tickets or bought the pay-per-view, and they were all injured. So, you know, I think it's a sad thing.
Mike Tyson shocked the world all right, disqualified for biting WBA champion Evander Holyfield in a gory, bizarre finish that stripped a heavyweight title fight of any of its traditional glamour. Searching for a saving grace, what lingers now is how little talent there really is in a division ruled by safety-first title holders and grumpy old men.
Boxing is changed, the attitudes have changed, and there's too much money involved. I think to get real fighters again, you got to drop the money down again. And that's not going to happen. Today, these guys are getting $30, $40 million for what? To fight poop butts?
An entire era then has been exposed. Tyson made more than $50 million walking through frightened former title holders Frank Bruno and Bruce Seldon. Lost to the first man who stood up to him. And beyond Holyfield, the men at the front of the heavyweight gravy train are simply dubious talents. WBC heavyweight title holder Lennox Lewis only recently recovered from his embarrassing 1994 knockout loss to journeyman Oliver McCall.
He threw a punch that he may only throw once in his lifetime, and it so happened to.
After a heartless title defense in March, IBF champ Michael Moore was abandoned by his longtime trainer Teddy Atlas. And Riddick Bowe, once regarded as the future, is now the past. A likable but lazy champion who at only 29 years of age is now retired. The most damaging blow any of these once promising fighters ever delivered was their avoidance technique for each other.
Competition develops fighters. The more the young fighters fight among themselves, the better the division comes. And if Bowe and Lennox Lewis and some of the other young fighters had been fighting each other on a regular basis, the division would have benefited.
I believe that history is going to look back on this era and say that it was probably one of the most lucrative eras in the history of the heavyweight division that was void of any superstar fighter. I don't think there's going to be any really serious domination by any one heavyweight for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
A glance at the ratings is a look into the great unknown. The only thing these fighters have in common is their anonymity. But boxing history suggests that when the heavyweight soil gets used up, you look to a new crop. Some say it's lighter divisions that will now have to feed the hungry.
I hope that they can keep boxing big in the minds of the public until some great heavyweights do come back on the scene.
But while we wait, there is only Evander Holyfield, and lurking in the shadow for now, Mike Tyson. Will the public's horrible fascination with him continue? Tyson is the man who flung his sport into the gutter, but he may be the guy to keep it afloat. That is a sad irony. That's our page one. This is Nick Charles in Las Vegas. Let's go back to Atlanta.
All right.
Birthday, Mike Tyson. Happy was omitted from the phrase. Tyson had planned to celebrate his 31st birthday Monday in a New York City nightclub. Instead, it figured to have been a sleepless night with Iron Mike's boxing future likely to be decided Tuesday by Nevada boxing authorities. The public outcry following Evander Holyfield being twice bitten by Tyson reached President Clinton, who said he was horrified. Tyson said he was sorry to the commander-in-chief and everyone else for that matter. He had every ear out there when he literally apologized to the world.
I cannot tell why exactly I acted like I did, other than to say when the budding occurred, and I thought I might lose because of a severity of a cut above my eye. I just snapped and reacted and did what many athletes have done and had paid the price for it. I apologize to the world, to my family, and to the Nevada State Athletic Commission that has always treated me